Hello and welcome to History's a Blast. We're in Savannah, Georgia, and we're going to go visit the Fort Pulaski National Monument, so come along. Fort Pulaski was named after the Polish emigre who fought on the American side during the Revolution. The visitor center is just like all visitor centers in the national battlefields, national monuments. It's contextual with the nature of the monument. Interesting. You see some artifacts. There's one of the heavy mortars used by the Union forces to shell the fort. This is a nice contrast between the old smoothbore cannonball and the conical rifled projectile used against Fort Pulaski. Timeline of the fort. There's Colonel Charles Olmsted, the Confederate commander. Young Lieutenant Robert E. Lee was here to help supervise construction of the fort in the 1830s. On down to its abandonment and its declaration as a national monument in 1924, and its restoration during the Great Depression, Civilian Conservation Corps. Here's a nice model of the interior of the fort. See the casemates up on top. Excuse me, those are the barbettes. And the casemates underneath. The piles. Millions of bricks. Looking out, that's the direction from where the Union artillery shelled the fort. The battle lasted less than a day. So we enter the fort, and here on the back side, I guess, of the interior are various rooms, quarters. Guard room to my left, next to the sally port where I came in. We have the parade field, we have the casemates below, and the barbette positions above. There's a portrait of Casimir Pulaski. Now we saw the officers' quarters. Now we see the enlisted quarters with their bunks. Here's a heat stove. Wood stacked up. There's a beautiful brass howitzer. Looking down the line of empty casemates, you can see the grooves in the wooden floor for the traversing wheels on the trails of the guns that were mounted in here. Here's a wonderful contrast showing the difference in sizes between siege artillery or heavy fort, or naval artillery for that matter, and field artillery. This battle was an illustration of the obsolescence of brick forts designed against smoothbore artillery, because in 24 hours the fort was reduced to surrender under bombardment by Federal rifled siege artillery that chipped away and basically pierced that wall over there, which had left the Union with a clear line of shot into the fort's magazine. So this was late 19th century technology meets 18th century technology. Military technology, that is. It's some good illustration of different types of smoothbore artillery and how they mount them in casemates. There's a lot to learn visiting these national monuments. Military technology that doesn't occur beyond gunpowder and bayonets. Slots in the wooden floor, ventilation up through the roof of the casemate allowed cooling air to circulate in the hot months and also helped to clear the smoke from the black powder gunfire. Very, very interesting. There's a bronze plaque honoring the company of volunteers that garrisoned the fort for the Confederates. The German volunteers organized in 1845. This is the area of the fort that was made into the POW prison for over 500 Confederate officers from October of 1864 to March of 1865. Many of them starved and died in a severe winter. The prison included all of the casemates in the southeast and south galleries. These Confederate officers were known down here as the Immortal 600. And this gun covers the moat to discourage any attempts at storming across the drawbridge. Shows the shifting shoreline. Wow. 1867, the shoreline was right at the edge of the fort. Wow. Filling in ever since. Now here's a cast iron rifled piece with wrought iron bands added to the breech to reinforce it. A nice compass to orient you to the surrounds. Hilton Head Island off in the distance in the haze in that direction, and Tybee Island around in that direction, and we can see a water tank up in the sky over there. Now, this is one of the Parrott rifles that was used by the Union Army here at Fort Pulaski, fired by a New York artillery unit. This is not a 100-pounder though, this is smaller. This is actually a siege artillery piece. So it can be hauled around the field and mounted in siege works. It was brought here after the battle and stayed here during the war. But then apparently it got dumped into the river at the end of the war at some point, and it was recovered years later and put on a brand new gun carriage for display. You can see the pitting from years and years of erosion being buried in the muck. That's it for this time. I hope you enjoyed this video and will take time to view some of our other ones.